Hi, George here, and welcome to Tales from Target Suite, where I'll share my perspective on guns and shooting, and we'll spend some time at the range, and every now and then we'll reconvene out in my shop back in Houston or here at the farm in Louisiana, where I'll build some fun projects, and we'll share an adventure or two that'll make even a grown man smile. And yes, I'm smiling today because we've got our problems figured out on the LabRadar. And so we just shot a 5-shot group, and we've recorded velocities at the same time through the chronograph, through the Caldwell, and also through the LabRadar. And I don't know if you were able to see the velocities here, but we're gonna reconvene back up at the house, and I'm gonna show you a report from this shot string that we just did, and then we're going to come back down here. Don't go away because I've got a surprise for you, and we're going to shoot another shot string through this guy, so stick around. Well, I'd like to be able to show you kind of live view here on the screen, but I can't do that. That's over my head. And but let me just say, the LabRadar's got a spot for an SD card here, and so I have recorded all my data to the SD card, popped it into my computer here, and I'd like to be able to show you live stuff, but I can't. But here is the first report I want to talk about, and you'll notice at the top, this is just the shot string report. Shows 5 shots at the top, series number 2, and I've recorded all of my data in feet per second, yardage for distances, foot-pounds of kinetic energy, and grains for the bullet weights. And you can see below that, here's the average velocity is 1304, highest was 1316, lowest 1291, extreme spread 26 feet per second, and the standard deviation 10 feet per second. And so here we actually have 6 velocities recorded, and the V0 is actually a derived velocity. They took the first velocity that I asked for was at 3 yards, because that's how far the Caldwell was set up. And so I wanted to pick up the velocity as the bullet went across the Caldwell, because that's where the Caldwell also recorded velocities. And so there's 6 showing, but I only asked for 5. That the 0 velocity, muzzle velocity, is actually calculated. And so, and then it's got kinetic energy, and it shows date and time that the shots were taken. And I'm not going to go through all of that. But anyway, that's the kind of the summary report. But what's really neat is found in the individual shots. And so let me pop that one up. And I've actually pulled out a chart that shows the blue line shows the velocity as it tails off. The orange line shows distance, which recorded distance out to, if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, which you don't have on your report. I actually recorded velocities out to 110 yards, even though I only asked for velocities up to 100. And so it's recording velocities every fraction of a yard. So we start at recorded a velocity at 6.5 yards, and at 7.4 yards, at 8.2 yards, 9.0 yards, 10 yards, and so forth. And so it's recording a ton of information, but it only puts a small amount of that summary into the actual report. But you've got it all here, including time of flight. And so tons and tons of data. For you data nerds, man, the LabRadar will keep you busy for a long time. And my son and I both have just barely dipped our toes in this. And so there's a lot of information there to be had. And it's really exciting stuff. One thing to note is that there is a column that shows up here. The far right-hand column records signal to noise ratio, SNR. And so as the bullet gets farther away, or if there's a lot of interference on either side of the bullet path, either way, you're going to start getting a degradation in the returned signal. And so they say once you get below 12, once the signal to noise ratio gets below 12, you lose a little bit of fidelity in your information. And in this particular shot, the signal to noise ratio began to tail off at about 95 yards, but you can still see there's a nice steady trend. So lots of good information. Anyway, it's awesome, and my son was a little bit skeptical, I think, until we pulled up this report, and then being a data guy himself, he was like, "Wow, Dad, that's awesome." So let's head back out there and shoot that second shot string with the higher velocity stuff. Well, I'll talk about it when we get back down to the range. Well, I never did really explain what happened last week, but I did read the directions. But you guys pointed out to me in the comments that really the LabRadar is set up as far as a power level goes. It calls for rifle, pistol, and archery, but the reality is it's all based on feet per second. And so if you're shooting a rifle with a slow projectile like the cowboy loads in that 45-70, it really needs to be set up in the pistol category. And if you're shooting a pistol that shoots really high velocity rounds, then you need to set, and the cutover is at 1,600 feet per second. And so if you have a high velocity pistol that shoots faster than 1,600 feet per second, then you need to set it up as a rifle. And so I had read that, and then, like I said, in the rush, I forgot that. But you guys pointed it out, and I appreciate it. So let's get back down to the range. Well, that's really an incredible amount of data that the LabRadar collects for you, and so it's more than just a pretty face, as they say. And now I'm going to shoot a 5-shot string using 357 Magnum, if I didn't say that before, with the new Winchester 1892. And by the way, we're going to do we'll do an intro video with this very soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to use it to send some more rounds downrange, and this is the 160 grain long flat nose gas check bullet from Montana Bullet Works. It's a very hard cast bullet, and so I'm hoping to get a lot more velocities out of this guy than we did out of the Acme bullet that I showed you earlier. And but before I shoot that, I wanted to show you the surprise that I was talking about. So hang on just a second. Oh golly. You know, there's a little post office right down the road. It's about 5 miles, and I go there to pick up packages that I get delivered. And I was coming back a couple of days ago, and sitting on one of the bridge railings on the way home, no kidding, I'm not lying, was this big old pumpkin. And so I've got it filled with water, and if you'll stick around just another minute or two, I'm going to go get that 1886 that didn't have a chance to do very much in last week's video, and we're going to shoot that 45-70 through this big old pumpkin and see what happens. So hang around just for a few more minutes. Now let me go get that 1892 and we'll shoot the shot string. Okay, here goes. It's the last bullet. All right, let's crunch those numbers and then we'll get back down here and shoot that pumpkin. Hey guys, I'll see y'all in the next video.